Hey everybody, welcome to Spotlight on Home.
Hey there, it's Chris and Katie Corbett.
Yep.
We're back. So, in this podcast episode, I wanted to talk about just actually enjoying homeschooling and like praying about it, and then really just kind of digging in and getting down and starting it and enjoying it along the way.
The wrap up to the intro.
Yeah, we did was, to launch Spotlight on Home, we created 10 podcasts right off the bat to kind of like set you up with as much information of like what I wish someone had told me when I first started homeschooling to kind of get the ball rolling. And then now we'll be meeting with you guys weekly to just mentor you. If you have questions, we'll be happy to answer them and make a podcast out of them. So definitely feel free to reach out to us.
If we get the same question over and over again, we'll devote a whole show right to that topic.
Absolutely. So, here's the thing. Homeschooling is really, it's a hedge against the current culture that we live in. And it really is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do in our lives to leave a mark on the imprint of our children's hearts. I think it comes down to the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. But if you have a window of time to pour into your children truth, beauty, goodness, you have the ability to set them up for a successful life that they can go out and do that to others, right? And it's this commission, right? Like, go and make disciples. Yeah. Well, the disciples start with the people God gave you.
When you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you get up, that's the biblical command.
Right.
So it doesn't say when you send them out to do it, to have somebody else, you're outsourcing when you do that. Is there a time for that? Sure. Just like we discussed in the last episode, her self-care was taking a year off. And
my friends, not mine.
Sorry. Yes, we did discuss that in the last episode. And that's okay. That's okay too. But we're here to help those who are ready to either take this on as a change, to add to that in their life, to come alongside you. Maybe you've been doing it for a few years and you're kind of shaking your head at a lot of these things. Oh yeah, I wish I had heard that. Or, oh, you know what? I could let them know this.
Yeah. I would love to hear your favorite resources, and we'll share them too. I think it's so important because here's the thing: when you're stepping out in faith and you're like, okay, I'm putting the stake in the ground and I'm going to be homeschooling, you automatically start going against the culture, right? And what does our current culture offer? It offers fear. It offers covering your face with masks. It offers forcing you to do things with your body that you don't want to do. It offers critical race theory. It offers sexual immorality. It offers violence. It offers a lot of crap, honestly. And I feel like once you say, like, you draw a line in the sand when you step out and say, you know what, I'm not playing. I'm done. I am going to do this instead. Well, you kind of are taking a stand for something, and I think that's really important to do.
I find it interesting because, whether you're a Christian or not, you send the children out into the world to learn the world's ways, and then when they come home, you have a few hours before dinner and bedtime to unschool the junk that's put in. And maybe they don't even talk about it for a while, and damage is being done. Or their mind runs away with a thought. And there's a fun, I like it, I get a kick out of it, those homeschool weirdo kids. Well, why are they weird? Because they don't resemble the culture.
Yeah.
But that's a type of weird I'm
okay with
pretty willing to
I've
embrace.
seen The Village, and I don't want it raising my kids,
No.
And if you're ever, like, worried, like, just go watch kids of get off the bus and see the kind of mess that's going.
Or hang out at the park.
Yeah. I mean, you are stepping out in faith, and that's okay, right? Abraham stepped out in faith. Noah stepped out in faith. Right. There's so many heroes of the Bible that stepped out in faith. So if this is something you're teetering on the edge of...
They were counted righteous for faith, not for anything else.
So it's like, go ahead and do it. I truly, truly think that if you ask God for wisdom, He will give it to you. He promises that to us. And also, I think homeschooling is a calling. And I think if you're listening to this many episodes, I can kind of pretty much assure you that you probably are being called to do it. And
a
maybe
ministry
you're
for sure.
Scared. Yeah, it is a ministry. You are dying to yourself. You are serving other people. I think in our culture today, the easy way would be like drop them off at school and go live your life, or, you know, have your own career, and, you know, and you're just going to be normal. And so there's a bit of fear stepping out away from the hive and saying, you know what, I don't want to be normal. I want to be my best, and I want to give my best to my kids, and I want to give them truth and beauty and goodness, and I want to cultivate their heart for the Lord, and I want to protect what's good inside of them, and train them up to know the Lord, and train them up to be the strong people that aren't afraid to, that learn like how to critically think, how to analyze things, that know that they don't have to just sit there and regurgitate information back and learn. You know, we can go on and on about the origins of school, how it was created to be in a factory. Like school replicates a 40-hour work week for a factory worker. Right. You're allowed to use the bathroom when you're told. You're allowed to take a coffee break when you're told.
Created docile, subservient workers.
Standardization.
Sort of slave style. You know, we are wage slaves.
Basically, wage slaves, yeah. And so stepping out and homeschooling and saying, you know what, I'm going to impart a beautiful truth and culture, and an ability to understand how to think and how to learn and how to you know, take in information and synthesize it, and then spit out thoughts, is not what you're taught in school. Mm-hmm. You're taught in school to really kind of like listen to authority, take in information, be able to regurgitate it back out, you know, stand up when you're told, get in line when you're told. Like all those things have a place, I suppose, especially when schools, you know, formal schooling was created in the Industrial Revolution. As a result of child labor laws, you know, parents needed a place to put their kids. The you know, the culture needed a standard level of education for the citizens, which I don't actually have a problem with. Nope, like I want my neighbor's kid to, if they're not willing to homeschool, like I want them to be able to read and write and know how to do math, so that they're not a delinquent and an adult that doesn't know how to do things, right?
Climb
like,
in my window to steal my laptop.
Like you want people to be educated, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to follow
Christian homeschoolers sometimes lose track. You know, we almost will make an idol out of homeschool.
Oh, right.
And that's a problem, because if we look through history, we look in, you know, through European writers and stuff like that, education was a key to freedom. And they were huge proponents for public education, because there was no other education, because everybody was kind of a pleb or a peasant or whatever. Really, they weren't that bright anyway. Literacy was very low amongst the vast majority of people. Victor Hugo speaks about it frequently in Les Mis, which you'll probably hear is my favorite book. And but it was a political. It was kind of a politicized writing to the people to really push education. Quite a bit of his writing was that reason. I want a standard. I want mass education. To be honest, you know, government. We'll jokingly call it welfare education. Government is government cheese. Government cheese, I guess, is better than no cheese. But you are equipped, or you are at least able to get the equipment to really invest and craft a beautiful cheese. A cottage style. You can make it beautiful. You know, there's a difference between, you know, canned meat and a filet mignon. You can do that.
Homeschooling is a filet mignon.
That's
right?
what that's the analogy I'm shooting for. But it's
you have the ability to craft a beautiful life.
Yes, in this country we still have that rights. I know in Denmark and stuff, and some places you don't have that right. And in a world where our rights seem to be getting invaded, and every little rule feels like an infringement, whether it's you know, hobbies you're into, that there's a new law and now they're infringing on my rights, or homeschooling. You know, she really is shook by some of the rules in
I
Pennsylvania.
just find them so irritating. Coming from New Jersey, which was completely green light, to come to Pennsylvania and have to be micromanaged, and it's just stupid paperwork. It really is irritating.
Pennsylvania is very free in a litany of other ways, but then it's very restrictive in that way. So you got to pick. You don't have to wear a helmet here either, which I think is absolutely absurd when you're riding a motorcycle.
I don't get it.
Freedom, baby. I get it, but I mean, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. But anyway, with homeschooling, then you have the luxury of going countercultural, which I think at the stage of the game we're in, I don't see another way to go.
Conservatism is the new counterculture.
I'm kind of over the whole current culture climate. And so, you know what? Right. I'm going to reclaim my family. I'm going to, take a stand for what's true and good and beautiful. And I'm going to pour that into my kids as best I can. And, I'm going to do that using homeschool as the vehicle. Right. And so, pray and make sure that it is God's will for you, that you can pray, take time to pray over your kids, pray over, what you're going to be learning this year, pray for your husband's leadership, pray for,
we don't do it enough, actually.
Your own wisdom.
There's always more. We don't pray enough.
No.
We could always pray more.
Yeah.
We should be praying together even more. Daily devotions, dads, that's a big one. I don't always do it. And I really guess I don't have an excuse, because I could pick, regardless of what shift I work, I could pick a time, but everybody's busy and it's easy to let it go. And then when we get into it for a while, and then, it happens, but at least keep heading in the right direction. Keep heading in the right direction, and it'll get easier and easier as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing too, I feel like homeschooling does is for the children, they can grow up and grow into who God created them to be. They have time and freedom to investigate their interests and hobbies that will spur them on into adulthood. They don't have to worry if they love music of being called like a band geek, or if they're into electronics and computers. Like, they don't have to be teased and be called a nerd if they're not athletic. And, they can grow into who they need to be without the peer pressure. And like, even young girls, they don't feel that pressure to have boyfriends and look a certain way and dress a certain way to fit in. Even if it might feel uncomfortable for them, they'll still, feel like, well, if I want to get any kind of attention from a boy, I need to dress this way. And like that pressure is really, really, really reduced when you homeschool, and it's a blessing. But not only that, you get to go deeper with your kids in your relationship with them. You get to know them on a level that I don't think you would really be able to know them at in any other situation. So, for example, when you're homeschooling them, and you can kind of see like what sparks their interests, like what are they, like my one little guy, he is a real scientist. It just lights him up to learn facts, and he stores every piece of information. His brain reminds me of a machine. He's brilliant. And anything I say and anything I teach, he's just, the first time he picks it up, it's really a delight, because you could just see his brain is like a sponge. And so you get to know their personality. And then we can buy even board games that kind of cater to the bent that they have. And they're learning, but they're playing. Like, you just have this luxury of time, which is really a non-renewable resource, that you can invest in your kids. And it really is a gift, and it is a blessing.
I have a little story based on what you had said just prior to that. My daughter Jessica was hanging out at a friend's house, and all their friends were homeschooled, but there was this one girl there. Excuse me. I could tell she was from public school. She had a certain look. She dressed a certain way, and so we were taking some pictures, because the kids love all their pictures, and so. I spent another 20 minutes while they said goodbye in the car. And then, she gets in the car, and I go, oh, what's the story with that one, And she goes, oh, yeah, she's from public school. I said, but you guys are just kind of doing, for lack of a better term, kind of geeky stuff. She goes, she loves hanging out with us. There's no pressure. There's no social pressure to look a certain way. There's no social pressure to dress a certain way. There's no social pressure to speak crass, coarse.
Yeah, like the bullying, the mean girls.
All that stuff went away.
And
that was a lesson for me.
Oh.
I was kind of blown away when she said that, because the kids out there are actually
it's
crying for it,
yeah,
so to speak.
Yeah.
But they don't know, because everybody's doing the same thing. If I don't do the same thing,
and you don't fit in. I don't fit in.
I don't want to be weird.
Right.
No one wants to be weird. Our parents didn't want to be weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what my parents would have ever said about homeschool.
I don't know.
My parents are passed.
Yeah.
It's, it was a little bit of a shock. Oh, really? Like coming from your parents. But fortunately,
they
now,
see the fruit now, though, of our kids, and they're like, wow.
At first, we were crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
I
which is okay.
I didn't disagree in the beginning either, but
I'd rather be crazy than just go with the flow.
Right.
I'm okay with that. Like, that doesn't bother me at all.
We have testimony of the fruit working and seeing other kids
That was actually my prayer. When we first started homeschooling, I was like, God, I am taking a big leap, because I really don't like to stand out and be different, right? Like, I that always made me nervous. No. So
I like being weird.
Yeah, you're weird. That's probably why I like you, though, because you're more brave than I am. But, like, my prayer was, like, Lord, at least let there be fruit. Like, please don't make this effort in vain for us. Like, let the kids thrive here. Like, I don't want to break them. I don't want to, like, ruin their lives and set them up for failure. Like, please give me what I need to give to them. And just, like, please let there be good fruit from this endeavor, and he has blessed that so much. And now as the kids are entering adulthood, and you're just seeing fruit, and you're seeing, like, good relationships. Not that we're perfect, not that our kids are perfect, because that's not true, but they are good people, and they're like, they love the Lord. They have a good relationship with us. Like, they're good. And I'm like, thank you that we were able to do this. And they thank us too.
They have thanked us.
And our daughter is in college. She's like, I'm totally equipped to be here. And some of the kids are complaining, like, this is too much work for me. But
live show, guys.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know who it is. That's why I'm not even worried about it. But anyway, homeschooling is a unique opportunity. And if it's something you're afraid of, but you just, like, feel like you're called to be doing it, do it. Just step out in faith. That's actually why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We want to encourage you to be like, you know what? You can do it. We are not special. And so, if we are able to do it, you are totally capable, totally able to.
You said something very important concerning perfection. We are not perfect. Our kids are not perfect. And, sometimes people won't do something if they don't think they can do it perfectly. It's a mindset type. You don't have to fear that. Yeah. Learn as you go.
Forward, right?
Keep failing, because that means that's one way you learned. Failure is learning, and I learned my way all through high school. But but also, like, sometimes in the homeschool movements where they're really, we mentioned that we've seen it turned into an idol for people, and people like us, we will gladly tell you we are not perfect, and we don't have all the answers. No. And I've seen other communities in this flavor put on this very perfect image. And it makes it very difficult for
these ideals. They make you think that...
super ideologues, and it makes it very difficult. Then you really feel awful if you're not attaining these. There's the first time obedience movements and all these other things, and my kids don't listen. Well,
I think we're more grace-based parenting.
Yeah.
And I think for us, like, for our parent, maybe we'll share with you, like, our parenting philosophy, but I think we both see, like, any misbehavior that the kids do is really just a reaction probably to something emotional that's going on for them. And the behavior is just really acting out of whatever the emotion is. So for us, it's like, okay, be proactive instead of reactive. And anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. And then dialing back a little further even, we don't know. We didn't know anything in the beginning. I'll never forget when we had our first, we weren't Christians yet. And, my whole life, anything I wanted to do, you had to get a license for or a certificate for and everything. And I'm a ham radio guy. I used to fly airplanes, driving cars, forklift, all sorts of certifications. And you were big with education and certifications and this and that. Yeah. And, we had our first child. We're coming out of the hospital. And the nurse is making sure Dad put the car seat in the right way because, what do I know? And strapped the baby up, and I'm sitting there at the overhang, like leaving the hospital. I said, "It's that simple, huh? They'll just give you one of these things."
I can't believe they're letting us take her home. I can't believe they just
let you leave.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just at the precipice of all the responsibility. A big change in my life and our life together. Yeah. But that is also, once we became believers and things like that, as testimony. God's like, "No, man, you got this. Be confident. You are qualified."
Not to mention, God gave you those children. So whatever they need, like He knew that you were going to be the one that would be able to give them what they need.
Or you need to learn the lesson that where grow. Certain failures come from, and that's good too.
Yeah, homeschooling will be a refining process for you as well, to grow your own character, to learn how to be less selfish. But I mean, the reward and the payoff and who you become as you do it is
you can't
priceless.
Express that to people.
No,
you can't go to work, with the normies and say, because they all have arguments against it, or they know this one person, and
everybody knows some weird homeschooler,
right?
But everybody knows some crazy person in regular school too, so they kind of forget that and they just focus on like the what is it, normalcy bias, like you'll pick what you want to see and then you won't see the other side of that. So and this isn't to beat down public school or anything like that, but
I
just saying that. I know, but I don't want people if they're not like I have very dear friends who are public school teachers, and I don't want them to feel attacked by this. But
this is just a choice we're making.
I mean, like if you're going to decide to homeschool and you're doing it like for the reasons we talked about earlier, you are taking a stand. You are going against the culture. You should be confident in that decision. And then go do it, and we will be here for you.
If they're insulted by this, I apologize. It's not our intention.
Yeah.
But I have a little saying that, I love chicken, but I don't love all chicken.
No,
this is education. I don't love all education. It's just we chose to craft it down a certain way for our children, for the betterment of not only our home, the children, each other, but we believe it's going to be for the betterment of society at large. And we can craft intelligent people in a very, very different way. And not for nothing, colleges will love your homeschooler.
Oh,
corporations, if you go that route, will love homeschoolers because they think differently. They're taught to think outside the box.
Typically more mature, self-starters. There's studies done on that.
They'll move up in the ranks fast. Yeah. They'll say, "Oh, this guy, he's not just a wage slave. This one thinks."
Plus, they don't have that same friction between student and teacher. Like all authority is bad. Like that's kind of alleviated a lot with homeschooling.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah, I think kids start to feel more like, "Oh, you're my advocate, not my adversary." Where in school, that's hard to accomplish because there's so many kids, and so you really are just doing classroom management. Whereas at home, it's so much different. It's
pack mentality.
Yeah,
kids versus the teachers.
You don't have that, and so growing up in a homeschool situation, like going to work, you just have a different attitude for the kids. Right. But anyway, that's what I just wanted you to leave this episode feeling encouraged, feeling like, okay, you know what, I can do this. I'm totally in. I'm gonna go do it, and then have fun. Like get to know your kids, play games with them. Take the opportunity of time that you have, and get done with the disciplining of the math and the science and the history and like all those things that like those boxes that you kind of need to check. But then like really take the time in the afternoons, enjoy the kids, get to know them, let them play games, see how their brain works. And I mean, there's just such a joy in getting to know your kids on such a deeper level. And you have that with homeschooling, which is really, like I said, it's just, you can't pay for that. It's really amazing.
No, you can't pay for it.
So Do you have anything else?
Oh, no, I think I'm good.
All right. So head over to Spotlight on Home if you haven't yet. Grab the PDF, 10 Tips to Start Homeschooling Now. That will help you. There's some resources on there with stuff that we've mentioned here during these podcasts. It's almost like a little cheat sheet. Or not little. I think it's 3 pages long. But it's a cheat sheet of all the highlighted tips that is it 4?
I think so.
Oh, it is 4.
I think it is 4.
Yeah, it's like a 4-page long PDF with highlights of different tips and stuff of which I wish I had when I first started homeschooling, of just different resources to kind of point you in the right direction, things to think about as you start this homeschooling journey. And we will be with you next week.
And it won't answer all your questions, but it will.
Oh, it'll get the ball rolling.
It'll get the ball rolling, and it'll get you in the right direction for the better questions to ask that we are excited.
It will definitely help you take that first few steps and get your going. And then we're going to be, in the meantime, working on Spotlight on Home community, where you'll get in there, and then we're going to do a lot of really cool things in there. We're going to have monthly cooking things and try to help you manage your home as well as your homeschool. We'll talk about curriculum. We'll talk about all different things as far as activities to do with your toddler or your preschooler while you're trying to do school, and what that could look like, and how to juggle different ages, and what a typical day would look like. And we'll create some videos and tutorials and book recommendations. And
I'm working on a page, Dad's Domain.
Yeah,
stuff that's just
for the men,
just for the men. I mean, still got to be men in all this.
Absolutely. No, and I think, gosh, in our culture, we need men so badly. We need men leaders. So I would love if your husband's joined us too, and we'll make it so he's involved and I'm involved, and it's the spotlight on home, right? So we're going to take this beyond just homeschooling. Now that you're home and your heart is at home, and in Titus 2, we're supposed to teach women how to love their husbands, love their children, and be keepers at home. I think when I first had my first daughter, I would sit on the couch and cry and stare at the walls and be like, well, now what do I do? I was used to working, and I was used to running meetings and doing things, and I missed it. Right. And because where your heart is, there's where your treasure is. So let's turn our heart towards our home,
the world
where our kids are our treasure, and
the
learn.
Heart was out there.
Yeah, and you learn how to enjoy it, and then it does become joyful. It does, you can learn how to be a homekeeper. I never was taught that. I was just taught not that, or that was what you did if you couldn't find a job. You know what I mean? So it's I just wasn't glorified ever. So I want to encourage women, it's okay. It's actually a noble calling, and it's important. So all of that we're going to cover inside, and we'll let you know when it launches. But there is a spot on the website if you want to get on the wait list for that. We'll let you know when we start going, and we're going to reasonably price it. I think we'll make it $20 a month. No big deal. Totally doable. We'll have we'll a bunch of videos.
Some of the price if you just pay for the year.
Yeah, and then so we'll make it. But anyway, and then we'll have a monthly call where you can call in, and we could chat with you. And
with each other.
We can help coach you through some of your homeschooling questions too. So there'll be a really cool community. I can't wait to get that off the ground. But in the meantime, go on the wait list so that you can get a hold of that. Anything else?
No, I think
all
we're
right,
good.
cool. So
all
we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.